cool? Colas here. It's really late at night, and I just had a chance to kind of unwind, and I wanted to talk to you all about something that I feel everybody needs to know who supports all the work that I do and is following a lot of things that I do on my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you all about what my actual vision is for my comic brand and how I want to create that one day. So let's kind of talk about a little bit of back history and what even got me into wanting to create this brand and why it's like very important for me to be able to produce the brand that I'm looking to produce. So the first thing is, and this is going to be a big shocker to anybody who has been following me, is that I was actually not really a big comic fan growing up. As a matter of fact, the only comics I actually used to read were Sonic the Hedgehog comics, and I thought they were really interesting. And I mean, even if I like had the opportunity and I had the time, I actually would probably still read them today. But regardless, those are the only comics I used to read back in the day. So with that being said, that never really was like a driving force as to what made me want to make my own comics. As a matter of fact, I didn't even really get big into the whole superhero world and caring about this DC movie, this Marvel movie, this DC show, that Marvel show, until I actually got older, like in my adult years. I think the first time I actually even cared a little bit about a superhero movie was probably around like the Dark Knight series. That's the only time I even cared a little bit. And then when I started kind of digging deeper, into that is when I first saw the Avengers back in 2012. Other than that, I was not really, like I said, big into comics. I didn't really find superheroes and things like that interesting. But I think it was when I saw those movies, and then when I finally started seeing some of like the movie or the comic adaptations on like different television shows. When I started seeing stuff like that, it started becoming more interesting to me, and I started, growing an interest in wanting to kind of like see if I could actually make those characters myself. Reason why is because I always found it interesting how the producers of like a lot of these shows were able to take a comic character or a character who was like widely known or loved, like a Batman or a Superman or whatever, and turned that into a movie adaptation that was very realistic. I always found that very interesting. It's almost as if you're creating something that is fictional, but you're making it as realistic as it can possibly get, because when you have ideas, although the characters that you make and the storylines that you make aren't real, it becomes a reality for other people because people know who those characters are. Those characters get widely advertised. I mean, you can see these characters not even just in comics at some point, but in, like I said, in TV shows. You can see them in movies. You can see them as action figures. You can see them in video games. So like they actually really become a part of your world from an imagination standpoint. And for me, that's kind of what I wanted to do as well too. So that was the start of my vision for it. What I think it turned into for me is I wanted to be able to create a Black-owned brand where I actually am advertising characters that I'm making myself. Now, here's the thing. When I started actually like, kind of writing comic scripts and drawing out like little mock drawings of the characters that I wanted to create, originally it wasn't in the same fashion as some of the superheroes that you see. It wasn't that type of style. It was a totally different comic book series. I'll talk about that in some of my other videos once I get some time. But anyway, I was doing that when I was in college. I had this like comic concept that I came up with. I would like do little drawings, like little comic drawings that weren't great, but they were kind of like B-level drawings, just to kind of start that process of making a comic. And then later I decided to actually make my own comic universe when I started watching more of these Marvel movies and more of these DC movies and things like that. Again, going back to my point, I wanted to make a black owned brand and a black owned version of that. And my vision is that I want to have a comic brand that is as big, if not bigger, than Marvel and DC. Because I'm looking at a lot of my ideas, and to be honest with you, I think that they're probably better than both at this point. I think that I have a lot of unique storylines. I think that I have storylines that have not been talked about. I think I have concepts and ideas that have not really been talked about widely. I think that another thing that my characters do is I think that they represent who I am and people who look like me very well. I think one thing that I've been noticing in the comic world, and then those comics being turned into like TV and movie adaptations, is that black people don't get represented very well in white America. Everybody knows that. It's not a secret. It's totally ridiculous. But the bottom line is that what I've been learning over the years is that we as black people really just need to make our own stuff, portray ourselves in the way we want to be portrayed, tell our own stories, not allow other people to tell our stories for us. And what I've been seeing a lot in white America, and I think the CW, as much as I like them, so this is no shade towards them, because I really like the Arrowverse and all that. Like I'm a huge fan. One thing that I've noticed is that they're really bad with forcing diversity or forcing these little agendas that don't need to go on. If you ever think about it, you don't ever really see any authentic black characters, like in the comic world we're talking about specifically. It's already bad enough in like the TV show world in general that's outside of comics, but in the comic world specifically, you never really see a functional major black character. Like you see them with certain ones with powers and stuff like that, but you don't see them without dysfunction. So just to give you an example, if you look at Black Lightning in that TV show, I mean, he's living with his like cracked out, obviously she's not on crack, she's on this thing called green light, like ex-wife who's like living with his family, living with his daughters, and that's like kind of like weird. He why can't he have like a black wife who's like strong just like him? He doesn't have that. And then like in Luke Cage is another example. I mean, dude was like living in a barbershop on the chairs in the barbershop until he got kicked out because he came into some, well, he didn't come into some wealth. He got wealth from Mariah at when Mariah was killed by her daughter. Like she gave the wealth that she had to him. That's the first time that he had any type of like wealth whatsoever. And on top of that too, he didn't even have any like woman like to share it with, because of the fact that he didn't really have any stable relationship. I mean, he was dating Jessica, who's a white girl. Mind you, I like Jessica Jones, but she's a white girl. He was dating, or not dating, he was messing around with Misty Knight, but that didn't go nowhere, obviously. And then there was a thing with Claire, and that was a total botch as well, too. We're not even going to get into that. But anyway, that's my point, is that you always see these like black comic characters, and they really can't have functional relationships. Meanwhile, you got characters like Oliver and Felicity in Arrow, and they have a functional relationship. Mind you, in the comics, that wasn't even a thing. The Green Arrow's girl was literally the Black Canary, and they just didn't have a thing. So clearly there was an agenda set up there. Or Barry and Iris in The Flash. I mean, if you look at like their relationship, I mean, Barry's a white man, and I mean, she's only Iris is only a black woman for that TV show adaptation. But if you look in the comics, she was white. So again, functional relationship. I mean, they have their problems like anybody does, but I mean, it's for the most part a very functional relationship. So anyway, what I'm saying is that what I'm noticing is we don't get represented in the way that we deserve to be represented. And I'm not saying that as in like white people need to look at us and be able to honor us and respect us, because we really shouldn't care too much about that. We should just care about respecting ourselves and be able to tell our stories authentically, like by our own hands and then by our own mouths. And so that's really what I want to do, is I want to create a brand that allows me to be able to create and portray that. So thus far, and this is just as of what's today's date? February the 6th of 2021. I've created, as far as like computerized drawings, a total of 1,700 characters. I have a total of 3,000 characters in general, and that's not including characters that aren't considered superheroes or supervillains or super anti-heroes, whatever you want to say. I have 70 major storylines that I could keep writing over and over again. So that's quite a bit as well too, and that number is still going to continue to grow. I have written a total of 115 comic scripts at this point. So I'm very serious about this project, and I am very, very confident that it will take off at some point. Maybe not now because of everything I have going on and then the financial piece of it, but at some point it's definitely going to take off. And I think that my vision is I want to be able to create something where I have maybe like a big brand where I'm able to provide opportunities for people who look like me specifically. I think there's a lot of very creative and talented melanated individuals, and I think that it will be really cool to create an entire brand and hopefully company that allows people to have like opportunities to be able to put out their skills, whether that's like in arts, whether that's in business, whether that's in writing, kind of like myself. But I want to be able to have that opportunity to expand that and create a dynasty around that. And I really think that with my gifts and my talents, I absolutely embody the potential to be able to create that for myself. And then again, like be able to create opportunities for other people one day. So at this moment, I am just like subtly looking for an artist slash artist, but at the same time, it's on the back burner because I have other projects I want to put out, and I want to be able to just, stay focused and all that. But my vision, again, is that I want to have this gigantic comic brand, and I don't want to reveal the name just yet, but that will be coming at some point. And I want to be able to just, first of all, tell really interesting stories, mostly interesting stories about authentic Black characters, because you don't see very many. And I can tell you right now, the majority of the characters that I've created look like me. So the idea there is to kind of put us on the map in different ways. And that's not to just always make a justice statement in every single piece that I write, but also to just tell really cool stories with us having some type of functionality and things and stories that are like really unique as well too. I think that the more that I continue to write, I think the more that I'll be able to have like things in my repertoire that I can be able to show the world, as I'm developing my brand more, and as I'm putting myself out there more. So it's kind of funny, and I want to tell y'all this real quick. But I was having a conversation with my wife probably a couple months ago, and I told her that I plan on producing so much content at some point that I'll have like a vault, and it could be like like Prince or like Tupac. You know how like they put out they have all this music that they could just keep putting out for years and years on end, or Michael Jackson. They have this music they can put out for years and years on end. I want to do the same thing with my comics and everything that I write. I want to have like stuff that I can just put out for years and years on end, even after like I pass. And I want to be able to just be that innovation and leave my mark within the world and leave my stamp within the world, and be able to inspire people, and to be able to inspire change again for people who look just like me, people who have like all this talent and they just want to be able to get it out there to inspire others and to be able to help others, but then to also help themselves, and then to see the things that they've actually brought into fruition to actually come to life. So again, if you're somebody who is watching this is just an introduction to why I want to create the comic brand that I want to create. I hope that anybody who is watching this currently, or just gets a chance to kind of see what I have, to support me, and to know that I plan to put out a lot of really cool ideas that I've been working on for years, and that I will not disappoint anybody who does support me.